Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 20 of our How to Become a Doctor video podcast. You'll see it's our first live recording. So really exciting. We have special guests from the Navy. I'll let Adrian introduce himself, but just want to let you know, if you haven't seen our other episodes, check those out. We're here to serve all pre-medical, pre-dental, pre-optometry students here on the LSU campus, current students and alumni. But Adrian, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. I am Lieutenant Commander Adrian Evans. I am a licensed clinical social worker, the U.S. Navy. I have been on active duty now for about 15 years. And I have, as my role, I've been through hospital social work, inpatient, outpatient social, psychiatry, and embedded mental health on the ground in the Middle East. With the Navy Special Warfare and Navy Expeditionary Combat Command before I was asked to come on recruiting duty.
Awesome. So obviously you're, got a great background for yourself, but you're trying to help our students, have, kind of follow your footsteps and serve in our country. And you're really we're here to talk about, medical and dental opportunities for our students. So, why don't you just, give us a short overview of opportunities for pre-medical, pre-dental, pre-optometry students at LSU?
Sure. So one of the really interesting alignments of me being a social worker and coming on recruiting duty is that, I am all about professionally about getting resources to people that need them so they can reach their goals and meet their needs. And being a recruiter for the Navy has afforded me the ability to go out and tell students who I once was, broke college student, no idea what I was doing, how I was going to pay for everything, resulted in me having some significant gaps between going all the way through my master's and getting my clinical license, postmasters. And if I would have known about programs the Navy had, I would have been able to achieve those goals much quicker. I wouldn't have had the $90,000 in student loan debt that I had. Right. I would have been, going to school full-time internship while trying to work full-time because I had a wife and two kids when I was 23 years old. And so that's been the most rewarding part about this is I'm just here to present the information to students that feel it may benefit them. There is, as I tell everyone, until I offer you a scholarship and you raise your right hand and you swear an oath, there is zero commitment to the U.S. Navy. It is just, here's the information. If you're interested in it, rock and roll.
Great.
And do what you want with it. Pass it on to your friends, tell your family about it. But the Navy's programs, the scholarship programs specifically, which do include medical school, DO school, dental school, and optometry school, are pretty much identical with only one major difference I can think of. And I'll try to do my best to explain that.
Right.
Okay. So I'll start with medical and dental because they are identical. So if you are applying to a dental school or you're applying to a medical or DO school, you can then apply for a health professional scholarship program spot. The applications applications are accepted from October until about May of your senior year. You don't have to have an acceptance letter already. You can be preliminarily accepted pending that actual acceptance letter. That's for medical school. Dental school, there's one selection board for all the scholarships, and it's in January. So one of the questions I always get is, well, when do I need to start applying, right? The key time to meet someone like me and have discussions and see if a potential career with the Navy is really right for you, because that's who we're looking for. We're looking for someone that wants to do this, right? Because they're going to provide the best patient care to our sailors, our Marines, and our service members and their families. We're not looking for someone that just, I think, this is my last ditch. We're not looking for that at all. And that's why all the boards are competitively selected. So we're looking to have those conversations your junior year so that we have enough time for you to talk to your family, talk to your friends, get all those questions out of the way, right? What is it that you fear, about joining the service? What are all those things you've heard, right? Have you heard you go to boot camp? Not accurate, right? Have you heard you can be pulled from medical school? Yes, technically by law you could, but it would make absolutely no sense for us to do so.
Right.
Because in the Navy, everybody has to go to training for school. By the time you got trained, you might as well go to medical school.
Right.
And so we like to get all those things out of the way because this takes time. On average, I think the fastest I've ever got from meeting an applicant to actually getting them to a selection board is 3 months. Average is about 6 to 9. The longest it's ever taken me was a year. And that's just because senior year is busy, right? I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on as a student, and I don't expect you to make me a priority. I mean, I would like to be the priority, but come on, let's face it, right? You've got a lot of stuff going on. And some of the stuff you have to do for the application takes time out of your day, out of your schedule. And so it has to mesh, has to work. So if I was to meet someone, let's say they wanted to go to dental school, and I meet them in September, right? Well, that means I've got 60 days to get that entire process completed in order to get them to the January selection board. Right. Otherwise, they've missed out. And if they don't make it to that selection board, there are no second chances. Right. Whereas with medical, I've got a much longer time period to get it done.
Okay.
But at the same time, just like with medical school applications, it's first come, first served. So if you have got your application done the end of your junior year, and I put your application in at the very start of October when they first start accepting them, chances you getting accepted for our program, pending acceptance in the school of your choice, is much higher than if I meet you in December or January when you're in your last semester, and now 3, 4, 5 selection boards have gone by, and then it's going to take us 3 to 6 months to get it done. You're going to likely be going to board at the end of the year, and most of the scholarships are gone, and so, or have already been assigned. And so now it's much more competitive.
Okay. So the timeline is really helpful to hear, but let's hear a little bit about the benefits. Why would someone consider, committing to the Navy? What does that commitment look like? That sort of thing.
Sure. Okay. So, I'll tell you why I joined. Okay. We'll go with that one. So I did not join right out of college, right? I was a clinical director in Memphis, Tennessee for Universal Health Systems at a place called Parkwood Behavioral Health. I was their assistant director of alternative services. And I was married. I had 3 kids at that point, and my son was diagnosed with severe autism, and lo and behold, private insurance didn't cover any of his treatment at the time. So we looked for other options, and we realized, hey, military health insurance covers all that stuff. Yeah. So we went and talked to a recruiter, and we were really worried. We're like, oh, all the questions, right? And we were like, well, we need to do this for Gage. So we joined. And here's the funny thing. As soon as I commissioned as an officer, my actual take-home pay went up by 50% because of all the things that we get as being an officer that civilians have to pay for out of pocket.
Right. The benefit side, not just the salary.
Right. And it's a whole package deal. So the biggest benefit that I would say to being in the military, well, as a medical provider, I'd say the first one is you get to practice medicine the way you want to practice medicine, right? We don't have a civilian health insurance company telling us what we can and can't provide for our patients, right? We don't have to take into account the out-of-pocket expenses that a patient will have to come up with in order to have a surgery, in order to seek a certain kind of care, get a certain kind of medication. We are able to make those decisions for our patients with their support, obviously. As a mental health provider, I don't have to worry about, my patient after, let's say, 3 months of therapy, no longer being able to afford their copay to come in and visit with me anymore. And now we have a more increased stressor that's going to add to their depression, add to their anxiety. That is only going to make their situation worse. I don't have to concern myself with patients not showing up for their appointment, and therefore I don't get paid because, well, one, I'm salaried, but B, my patients always show up because if they're a service member, it's an order that they come to the doctor, right? And so they always show up, and it's the whole command kind of lifestyle of being within a unit, being assigned to a medical facility where everyone it's not, well, this is this department or this provider, or everyone's one unit, one fight for taking care of our patients. And we all work together for that benefit. I can't tell you how many multiple, treatment team meetings that I attended where there were so many different professionals discussing the patient, and there was no arguing. There was no, well, this is my patient. I'm in charge of this. Well, I do this. That's not your wheelhouse. It was, okay, what does this patient need? And how are we going to do it? Another thing that being in the military versus my civilian career, which was, I was a civilian career for 10 years before I joined the service. I've gone all over the world, right? I would have stayed my entire career probably in Memphis, Tennessee, if I wouldn't have joined the service. I've been to Ireland, England, Spain, Germany, 7-month deployment at a 5-star hotel in Dubai, darn, right? Bahrain, Kuwait, not the best, living facilities in Kuwait, but it worked, right? It worked.
Right.
And then I've, Guam, and I've lived everywhere I live actually with my family are the places people go on vacation. Right. It's Jacksonville, Florida, Virginia Beach, San Diego, Seattle.
Yeah, Navy, you have to be by the water.
Right. Pensacola, Florida. We're always at the beach, and people ask me all the time, why would I join the Navy, not the Army? Right. Number one, we have better looking uniforms, I'd say. But two, you need to decide where you want to live. Right. And use that to make a decision. If you don't like the beach, you don't like the sand, okay, don't join the Navy. Right. I was giving a presentation to some students, and one of the students asked, well, what if I don't want to move all the time? Well, then don't join the military. Right. Go be a civilian. There's nothing wrong with that. Right.
Yeah. Cost and benefits, so,
right.
Yeah.
I don't have to pad a pocket for malpractice insurance. I can carry it if I want, but as long as I'm following, best practices and Bureau of Navy Medicine and Surgery's guidelines for care, I have no concerns for being sued.
For sure. And let's get a little more into the scholarship too. So what is actually like the scholarship and the commitment? Obviously, there's many other military benefits, but specifically for the doctors and dentists.
Perfect. Okay. So doctors and dentists, as far as the actual versus optometrists.
For all three of them, is what it look like for them.
Okay. So doctors and dentists, the only difference in their benefits for the scholarship versus the optometrists is doctors and dentists get a $20,000 bonus check as soon as they enter medical school or dental school. Okay. Optometrists don't. Okay. Now, outside of that, the rest is the same. Okay. They get all of anything the school bills for is paid, covered 100%. Any books, professional equipment, anything that you have to pay for out of pocket that is towards your education, right? You are reimbursed for. Yeah. Okay. And then you are paid this year, the monthly stipend is $2,765, I believe, a month for your entire time you're in school. Right. That does go up based upon increases of cost of living, which is that decision is way above my pay grade, how that happens. But I think it used to be 2,500. I think even the website says it's 2,500, but it's actually now it's 2,765.
So it's only going up, not going down.
Correct. It's the same with our pay, right? Yeah. It's only going up. And so then after you've completed med school or dental school or optometry school, I have to admit I'm woefully ignorant about residency, fellowship programs, things of that nature. But if you wish to go through those, because the Navy has them, as well as the residencies, you can transfer directly into a residency program. At those points, once you've entered a residency program, you're officially on active duty. Okay. So you get full pay, medical benefits, all those things as a commissioned officer. Okay. If you wish to go into either a general practice type of situation, which would for medicine would be a dive doc, which are the ones that specialize in the care of individuals that are, obviously divers, but also people that go on submarines, right? Or a flight surgeon who is specialty for individuals that fly. Right. And so those you can go straight into right out of medical school, DO school. Okay. All the other ones you can either apply, you will apply to the Navy's residency programs, which are top ranked there are so many subspecialties that the residency offers that I couldn't name them all and I'd miss something. Yeah. So if a student is interested, we sit down and we go through the list. Right. I make sure that what they're interested in doing is something the Navy has a residency program for. Right. Yeah. And then the same on the dental side. If a student isn't selected for a match on the Navy side, then our match occurs in December. And so then they can then continue through the civilian match process, which I believe occurs in March.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of get a double shot at the residency that you wish.
Yeah, great.
Right. Now, if you go into a civilian residency, you are not considered on active duty because you're in their training program. And then that residency program pays you whatever it is they pay you.
Yeah.
Right. Now, commitment time, everyone wants to know, right?
Yeah.
So it's if for medical school or optometry, it's 4 years, right? And that basically works out to be one tour. So one job, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end of our medical tours are typically 3 years, right? So if you decide you're going to resign because it's commission, not an enlistment.
Right.
So once you're commissioned, you can resign at any time after your initial contract ends.
Right.
So you're offered new orders at the end of 3 years. You can say, yes, I'd like to take new orders and continue this career path. Or you can say, no, I really think this has been fun, right? But I want to try something different. Then you just finish that last 4th year at the same job you have been doing for the last 3 years.
Right.
I've been asked why we move every 3 years. The simple answer to that one is if you're going to move up the ladder, right, and develop your management skills, your professional skills, you need to work your way up the chain. And so we move from one position to the next hire, to the next hire, to the next hire, so that you can develop those leadership skills, develop those professional skills, and then one day become the medical director or the commanding officer, civilian side CEO of a military treatment facility or hospital. And so that movement is to prevent people from becoming complacent in their position, right?
Right.
It promotes change and growth in both the facility that you're assigned to and the person, and it enables us to continually move to more challenging positions so that we can fulfill our duties. I mean, as a lieutenant commander, I have people that work for me typically. I'm overseeing a clinic, I'm overseeing a treatment team. And so I need to be in those positions that afford me that role.
Right. So kind of go back to the timeline here, like for a student that goes to 4 years, and they're here at LSU, they get into medical school, they connect with you, they get the scholarship, they obviously get all the wonderful benefits you mentioned there. Let's just kind of look at medical school first. What is there any sort of training or anything you need to go to while in medical and dental school?
Good question. So no, you are a student, right? You are considered in the inactive reserves for paperwork purposes, right? So you can get paid. You collect your stipend, but you have no responsibilities. You don't wear a uniform. You don't go to training. You don't muster. You don't PT. None of those things, right? At the end of every semester, you submit your transcripts and prove you're passing. You're making the grade. You're progressing, but that's about your only responsibility to the Navy. And then as you get closer to graduation and you're going through the match process, then it gets a bit more involved. But you typically don't go to your what we call officer development school, which I coin as boot camp light, right? It's a 5-week course in Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay.
And it's basically, how do you wear the uniform? What is expected of you as an officer, as a leader? And, how do you recognize ranks and, basic stuff about being an officer in the Navy. And depending on your school schedule, class schedule, they may have you do that while you're in medical school, just so that you can, especially if you're going to be going into residency afterwards, and if your residency is going to start immediately after graduation, you're not going to have time to go to ODS. And so, but if you're in a medical school program where you're pretty much booked the whole 4 years and you're going to residency, then you'd be doing it after residency. They would work that schedule out based upon the needs of the student and the program they're in.
Okay. And then this 4-year commitment, typically if someone's doing a 3-year residency, for example, then the 4 years will be after that 3-year residency.
Yes.
So obviously specialty will depend maybe how long.
Yes. So the way it works for residencies, if you are in a Navy residency program, right? So you are being paid by the Navy as an officer while you're in residency, there is a additional contract time for that. Right. Okay. And each one is a bit different. Okay. Right. And so as a person's going through that match process, they would have those discussions with those residency program coordinators. So they're aware of, they have all the information they need to make the decision on whether or not they want to do that, whether they want to just go into, like I said, a flight surgeon or general practice, and then return to residency after they've completed a tour or however they want to do it. But your contract payback time does not begin until you're a fully independent licensed provider in
Right.
whatever specialty that is.
Yep, okay.
So if you do a residency with the Navy, where are those at Navy medical centers? Where are
Yes.
they?
So you can actually Google it, and you just type in Navy residency programs. And I think it's the National Association of Osteopathic Medicine has a great website which lists all the residency programs and where they're all located. They're predominantly located at either Walter Reed in DC, Portsmouth Naval Hospital, which is near Virginia Beach, or San Diego Medical Center, which is San Diego. Those are typically where our 3 residency,
Right.
all our residency programs are at those 3 hospitals. And an individual's first tour, typically right after medical school, is going to be at a major medical hospital.
Right.
It would be very unusual for us to choose a new graduate or a new practicing provider to go to an overseas billet or something such as that, because you just don't know enough about how the Navy does medicine to be able to do that. Because you would be the subject matter expert to know everything about that role and patient care and international everything, right, to be able to do that. So those would be further down the line in a person's career.
Right, okay. What does the actual application look like? I mean, are there any tests that to take? Is there an interview? What kind of info are they typing out for you guys?
Sure. So it's pretty basic. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's even less than a medical school application. It is, I need a resume, I need transcripts, I need 3 letters of reference. I need, you do a online background check. You get a physical done to make sure, you're medically qualified to be in the service. And then you do 2 interviews with senior medical corps, dental corps, or medical service corps officers. And there's a few other little admin pieces of paperwork, just sign off on disclosure of this, that, or the other. Or if you maybe got arrested at one point, I have to pull a police report. If you've got a tattoo somewhere, I got to get it checked out, make sure it's nothing weird. But those are the main things. The physical is usually the thing that takes the longest, because it is not controlled by the Navy. It's controlled by the Military Entrance Processing Station, which is a civilian organization that does it for all the services. And so depending on what a person's medical history looks like, if you're like me that comes in at 30, it's going to be a bit more involved with medical history versus someone that's maybe 20, 21. Right. And so we have to get medical history documentation, get it to MEPS so they can review it before you come in for a physical.
Okay. And the interviews, they're in person, or where are they?
It depends. So now that with all the Zoom and everything else, right, I pretty much coordinate all of my interviews over Zoom with people all over the globe. I do my best to link an applicant with someone in the subspecialty field that they want to go into, so they can ask specific questions about that field. And I did fail to mention this, and I should. One part of being in the scholarship program is during those summer months where you might not have class, you are, as well as maybe fitting you into a possible officer development school class, you are then afforded the opportunity to go to a military treatment facility and shadow various physicians, providers, dentists, optometrists in the field. So you can get some more questions answered, see what's going on, and really get a feel for some of my students. I recommend that's when you really see what kind of residency program maybe you want to do. You can you can be at a military hospital and you can go shadow all the different specialties at that hospital and see what really drives you and interests you. So you don't have to go into it going, I think I want to do this, or I think I want to do that. You can really, yes, this interests me. I've seen them do this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, I know we have just a little more time, and I want to hit a couple other things. One thing is, what are you guys looking for in an applicant? I know it's a golden question, but maybe something that maybe would surprise people that you guys are looking for in an applicant.
So obviously, GPA is the thing, right? The higher the better. The minimum GPA is 3.0. Okay. For medical school applicants, the 500 on the MCAT's a minimum. For the dental applicants, it's 200 on the DAT.
Good.
I'm sorry, 20
Okay,
on the
20.
deck, sorry, I had hundreds on the brain. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't meet a lot of optometrists. I've had a few applicants, but
Right.
that was about a year or so ago. So I don't remember that one off the top of my head. So there are minimum requirements for that. But there's a lot more to an applicant than a student than just their paperwork. Right?
Absolutely.
So one of the key things I really help a student discuss, identify, or maybe even seek additional opportunities to find are leadership, right?
Yeah.
What are you involved in? And if you're involved in it, what is your role in that?
Yeah.
Right? Because as a naval officer, whether you're a medical corps, medical service corps, dental corps, nurse corps, you're an officer first, right? You are a leader. You are in charge of other individuals.
Yeah.
And that is your job number one. For a lot of your subordinates, I've had many enlisted sailors that have worked for me who are 18 years old, have never left home, and they don't know how to adult, right? Just because they've never had the experience.
Yeah.
You know, I have kids that ask me, hey, how do I buy a house? How do I buy a car? You know, hey, this guy suckered me into this deal right here, and can I get out of it? You know, I've got this going on in my life or this going on in my family. What is available to me to the Navy?
Yeah.
Or, you know, I want to do more. I want to advance. I want to go with this career. How can I become a more influential sailor? And so you have that role as well as being the medical provider that you are.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for people that are that have shown a willingness to take that on the front end, right? Because those are the people that are going to be successful as a naval officer and are going to, you know, we in the Navy, we have a culture of constant process improvement, right? And we are looking for future leaders that are always looking at ways to increase access to care, make their care better, right? Find the latest and greatest, implement it, test it, research it, see if it works, see if it doesn't work, find ways to make things more efficient, right? Yes, we work within a bureaucracy. Let's just call it what it is, right? That doesn't mean it has to negatively affect our patient care. And we are looking for the people that want to make those changes while practicing medicine in the way that they want to do it.
Great. That's wonderful. I mean, obviously we couldn't cover everything today, but you know, I would just love for you to share how they can find out more, you know, if they're interested, they watch this, you know, how can they contact you? Maybe you can, you know, look at the screen and just let them know, you know, how they can hear from you.
Sure. So the best way is just to reach out to your local medical officer recruiter for this area. That's me. My phone number is the best way to reach me. It's my command cell phone, so I have it at all times. If you don't want to, if you're more of a texter, that's fine too. It's 601-436-0460. I'll be sure that your advisors here have my email contact information. And I just would like to sit down with anyone that has questions, right? As I mentioned before, if you decide you want to do this, it's a process. This is not something that you can walk into my office at 9 a.m. and at noon be in the Navy. So there's plenty of time for you to process, think it over, ask people questions, and then bring those questions to me and see if they are a concern for you and if it's a career that'll work. If it's not, I don't take offense to it, right? I want to help people get the job and the career they want and the resources to be able to meet those goals. That's my goal.
Well, yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Definitely reach out to Adrian if you have more questions. And there's not many scholarships out there for medical and optometry students, but this is one wonderful opportunity. So thanks again for joining.